Welcome back to this Anti-Post Postcast. Now, Ted, we were talking beforehand about this build-up to Cheltenham, how some people are sick of it now and they want to crack on. But you've got a preview night scheduled for about August, did you say?
Oh, well, yeah, a bit of banter go around the office saying we were joking, what's the earliest we could do a Cheltenham preview night to get the people to turn up. So, we joked we'd do it during Glorious Goodwood Week and we had 120 people say they'd turn up. So, anyway, that's one for another day. So.
Yeah, and Patrick, obviously it's a very pressurised time of year for you. Are you sick of doing all these media gigs now and talking about it? Do you just want the action to start? Or
talking to us from a cafe. So.
Yeah, or are you, how are you feeling in the run-up to Cheltenham now?
No, I mean, as my mother says, it's great that it's great that people want to know your opinion. You know, there'll be plenty of time and they probably won't want to hear from you at all. So, no, I mean, I think if you're busy, that's a good sign. I'm only doing one preview this year. I remember one year I did 7 or 8, and it just is too much, you know. So you just need to know. You need to know when to say no at certain times. But no, I enjoy talking about it. But like you say, I can't wait for it to start.
Mm-hmm. And Rob, what about you? How are we feeling in the build up to Cheltenham? The pressure is on now, isn't it?
It is. I suppose obviously we had 3 horses who were ruled out yesterday, which isn't ideal. And the next 2 weeks, all you want is the horses to turn up, because it's the closer you get it is when the bad news generally comes. So as long as all the big guns turn up, I think everybody will be pretty happy.
Here, I think we can all be in agreement with that. Now, Patrick said that we do want to hear his opinion and that we want to hear it on the RSA chase. We'll start off with presenting Percy. Patrick, he's had a bit of an odd campaign. Of course, he won a handicap chase over 3 mile 5 furlongs, and then he's won hurdles over 2.5 as well. So what do you make of presenting Percy as a favourite for this race?
Yeah, I mean, Pat Kelly, he's a small operator, but he's a genius at placing his horses, and he's got an awful lot of prize money for presenting Percy this year, and he's got an awful lot of confidence. He's won some nice races, and although he got beaten the last day, I don't think it was actually a particularly hard race. They kind of hacked around and sprinted over the last 3 fences, and I think if you watch from the back of the last, Davy Russell wasn't hard on presenting Percy compared to Robbie Power on Our Duke. So I think he's probably got him prepped lovely for the race, and the fact that he has that handicap experience, I think, is a huge advantage for a novice going into a Cheltenham Festival race. He's won at the track before, so I think he deserves to be favourite,
Mm-hmm. And Ted, what do you reckon presenting Percy? We were mentioning, his campaign beforehand and how there's been a lot of buzz around this horse recently. What do you reckon?
Yeah, a little bit of a funky campaign, I'd say, in some respects. But look, as Patrick rightly points out, he's been winning big pots, and I don't think Connections has been too disappointed. Been finishing, close up behind Our Duke, who stood a full favourite for the Gold Cup last time out. Wasn't given a particularly hard time of it. Trip was probably too short, etc., etc., etc. I think that run was all about getting him spot on for this one. And yeah, is he the right favourite? Probably on balance, yes, because the whole dynamic of the race as a whole is still a total mishmash at the moment, isn't it? Most of it through Patrick's dad's horses, where we could have about 9 running, or we could have none of them running, depending on which press bulletin you read. So I think there's a lot of guesswork into who's actually going to make the gig, which is in turn kind of strengthening presenting Percy's position at the top, because this is the only race they've been interested in for a couple of months now, and yeah, he's got previous Cheltenham form in the book and on spring ground, and clearly goes there with a big chance.
Well, we can quiz Patrick on which are going to turn up hopefully in just a moment, but before we do, Rob, can we have a full show of betting, please, and your opinion on presenting Percy as the favourite?
Yeah, we are 5-2 presenting Percy. It's 11-4 Monolith. Black Corton, who's been a revelation this season in England, is 8-1. We're 8 invitation only in Alboon Photo. Willoughby Court's obviously a doubtful starter. He's 10s, 12s Elegant Escape, and 14s Bar. I'm a presenting Percy fan. I think his win when he carried top weight to win over 3.5 miles on soft ground at Ferryhouse was one of the top novice performances this season. He won at Galmoy. Yeah, he was beaten by Our Duke, but he's been beaten by a horse who's 3rd or 4th favourite in the Gold Cup. I know he was getting £7, but I don't think he lost an awful lot in defeat. I think he's a worthy favourite, yeah.
Okay, Patrick, if we start with the Flogas Novices Chase, of course, won by Monolly. You had Album Photo and Invitation Only in there. Are those two likely to both turn up in the RSA? And what did you make of their runs at Leopardstown?
No decision made on where they go yet, I'm afraid. But both are well after the race. I think we probably came away from that race thinking that we probably gave Monolly a bit of a soft lead. And that, I think that probably handed the advantage to Monolly. Not saying that we definitely would have beaten him, but he's probably a horse that you can't let him get an easy lead like that. So Album Photo was staying on great at the end, and Invitation Only ran very well. So they're probably the two top ones on the list for the race. But whether they'll both run it or not, I don't know yet.
Okay. And what about some of the others that might run? We've got Bonbon, Umiel, Rathvinden, Kemboy, Live Love Laugh, Pile on the Pressure and Up for Review. Is it sort of a case of not knowing at this stage, just keeping them all ticking over and then making decisions later on with them?
I say Bonbon and Umiel will probably go here or possibly the 4-miler. Kemboy is probably the other way. He's the RSA or shorter, the JLT. I think Live Love Laugh probably wants shorter as well. Up for Review might stay at home. He's only had the one run and he was second, so that would maybe be a big ask to go over. Yeah. Although he is a natural jumper, he jumps spectacularly in Gorham before getting tired. And Rathvinden possibly might go for the 4-miler as well. He got a fall the last day, but like I said, that race was quite slowly run, and then it turned into a bit of a sprint from the third last, and he got caught out at second last with that. But he's fine after the fall. Is that all of them?
Yeah, no, well remembered, to be fair. You put me to shame there. Album Photo and Invitation Only, would it be cruel of me to ask which one you prefer to be on if you were given the choice?
I don't ride either of them at home, and there wasn't very much between them at Leopardstown, so it'd be hard to say.
Okay, fair play. And Ted, you've got a theory on the RSA and the 4-miler, haven't you?
Well, it's not my theory. If you lie for me, I was on Cheltenham preview night last year. I was on a few too many, as Patrick says, and I've totally forgotten which jockey it was I sat next to who reckoned their opinion was, in a bizarre way, you almost need to stay further to win an RSA than you do to win the 4-miler, for the view that he reckoned they kind of hack round for half the race in the 4-miler and it turns into a bit of a tactical wind-it-up speed test over the 5-mile, whereas you saw, like in the RSA chase last year, they just go absolutely bonkers for speed from the get-go, and you really need to stay 7 miles in order to win it. I mean, there's horses who've cried enough 3-4 from home. So with that in mind, it is kind of interesting. I always do just love the Dower stage. You've seen some horses that wouldn't have even been considered in this race, running well at big prices. You go back to like Horner Woods, going back a few years ago, I think went off as a 66-1 shot. I think the quote for Jessica Harrington beforehand was, if there was a race over 7 miles, we'd be running him in it. That's my kind of point, that I do think that, there's no hiding place. These 2.5 milers stepping up, I'm very wary of. I'm more interested in the kind of 4-mile, the national type, your Native Rivers, your Manila Roccos, that type of mould of horse dropping back a trip. Obviously, if you've got
a lot of them go and run in the Gold Cup, don't
exactly, they? Exactly, it's that kind of. If you've got a lot of class, like a Might Bite, then so be it. But I do tend to like the out and out, those tough, hardy Dower stayers here. So I'd be looking at that type of mould horse, and that leads me on to Denikos, who I do think is a really interesting horse and who ties in with the Flogas form we've been talking about, of which he was doing all his best work in the final half furlong. He was only beaten about 3 lengths by the time the line came behind Monolly, or maybe a little bit further. But he also had to snatch up when a horse, it might have been Album Photo, jumped across him coming towards the last and had to snatch up and run round him. So he, to me, looks like the type of horse which will just stay longer than the mother-in-law on a bank holiday weekend. And I think he's the type of horse you want for this, really. Listening to Gordon Elliott, it was quite an interesting quote, I thought quite significant. He said, if I have it my way, he'll be running in the 4-miler, which is just personal conjecture, but to me that insinuates that perhaps Gigginstown House Stud think he should be going to the RSA chase. But either way, he is definitely a horse. If you're going to talk about the Flogas, You're going to mention, rightfully so, the likes of Monolith, Albin Photo, etc. You do have to pay attention to Dunikos, who was doing all his best work at the end and didn't have the best of the clearest of runs, shall we say.
Yeah, I'm against you. I'm hoping Dunikos runs in the 4 miler. I'd absolutely love to see him there. Patrick, you've raced in obviously both of the races before. Would you be in agreement with that theory that you have to perhaps stay better to win the RSA as they go such a fierce pace?
Yeah, I would say it doesn't maybe tie in every year. Obviously, every year is different, and you get different people in front of different horses in the race. But there's a lot of sense in that theory. Yes, that because everyone's setting out over 4 miles, you might steady up a bit. But it doesn't exactly fit in every year. Yeah.
Okay, and besides presenting Percy, who would you see as the biggest danger? Obviously, Monolith, there's talk of him potentially going to the JLT now. What do you make of Black Corton and the likes of the other British hopes we've got over here?
Black Corton has been obviously improving all year round, and Bryony Frost gets a great tune out of him. She's fantastic to watch over a fence. She's like Rachel Blackmore. The horses jump for them, and they get into a rhythm, and they just save so much time and energy and effort all the way around. So he'd have to be taken very seriously. I could see why they might drop Monolith back, because, like you were saying with the RSA, it's a bit of a war of attrition, and you could see him getting taken on in front and maybe doing too much, where the likes here presenting Percy, he's so laid back. Like even coming down to the last in Gore, and he was pricking an ear. I say he keeps it a little bit for himself, which is no harm in a race like the RSA. So, I mean, Black Corton is the obvious standout from England anyway.
Okay, brilliant. And Rob, any of those at a bigger price that you think could upset perhaps?
Well, I suppose the key is to what Willie runs. He's obviously won the race in the past, but he's had plenty of big price horses who've run well. Mossy Green was going well years ago when he fell. Rule Supreme ended up winning that race for Willie, and Kelespree's another horse who was going well when he fell. So something like Bon Bon Umiel, who I think Willie said in the Racing Post today, looks like going for this. Something at a big price, he's probably going to run 2 or 3. So don't be surprised if his second or third string run well, because whatever he runs in this race generally is geared towards the RSA. But of the top 2, I think just what the lads were saying, given his Cheltenham form and given that maybe the Monolith was outstayed last year, I think presenting Percy of the top 2 is probably the more solid, and Monolith might end up going for the JLT anyway.
Okay, brilliant. And Ted, before we move on quickly, anything else you want to mention at a bigger price besides Dunikos?
Very quickly, Keeper Hill might be a huge price. I know he fell last night behind Barney Dwan, but Adrian Heskin believes he's got a record to say he thinks he had the better of Barney Dwan at the time. He's had extensive schooling since, I believe, hasn't touched a twig. Look, he was a Grade 2 winner up at Doncaster. It might not have been the strongest Grade 2s, but he galloped ragged and ran away, and he just looks, he's a huge horse who's quite one-paced, but that might not necessarily be a bad thing in this. He's going to jump, he's going to gallop, he's going to stay. And whatever he's 33, 40 bigger, if he lined up, he's going to go for that with a 4 miler, similar to Dunikos. If he lined up, I'd be interested in him on the day at a big price, because this race, looking at it, has the propensity to cut up to a single figure field. So that might suit him.
Keeper Hill, does he need soft ground, or would you be worried about him turning up on anything better?
As long as it was absolutely rattling, I wouldn't. But I don't think just extremes would probably be an inconvenience. But no, usual good to soft would be fine for him. Yeah.
Okay, fab. We'll get the lads to nail their colours to the mast right after this.
Paddy Power are gearing up for Cheltenham and offering non-runner money back on all races at the Cheltenham 2018 Festival. Paddy Power, you beauty! Applies from midday on January the 9th. T's and C's apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Okay, welcome back to this Anti-Post Postcast. We've, of course, covered the Arkle, and we're just going to get to the end of the RSA now. Ted, your idea of the winner in a few words? I'm
going to get stuck into the non-runner no-bet angle here, and Dunikos non-runner no-bet. If he lines up, I'd be really, really keen on him. I think he'll go up that Cheltenham Hill when others have cried enough. Okay, Patrick, your idea of the winner?
I think presenting Percy, he has course form, he has a lot of experience, he's the one to beat in the race.
Okay, brilliant. And Rob?
Yeah, presenting Percy, rock solid favourite, and has got the form to boot.
Okay, Ted, your best bet in the race, Keeper Hill perhaps, or an each way shout?
Well, we'll do 2 non-runner no bets each way, Dunikos and Keeper Hill. I think they both run well if they make it on the day.
Fab, getting plenty of big prices in there. And Patrick, what about you?
If you're looking at non-runner no bets, I think Bon Miel might be overpriced. The drying ground won't be any hindrance to him. and I think he might be overpriced.
Okay, fantastic. So good luck with him. And Rob, your best each way shout? Anything at a massive price taking your eye?
Yeah, the only one at a big price is Bon Bon Omiela, and the fact that Patrick has suggested he might run is probably a tip in itself.
Okay, brilliant. Next week we're going to be previewing the handicaps at the festival. Unfortunately, Patrick, you won't be with us then, but we can't let you go without just quickly asking you, have you got any that you want to mention for the handicaps at this stage?
What have we got? Is there anything off the top of your heads? I can't.
I don't have an idea. Go on, Ted. Take it away. Any Mullins horses you've had a look in the handicaps?
Not particularly. If I very quickly ask you about one, Patrick, Salsaretta, is she going to make the festival?
She's entered at the weekend in a maiden hurdle, so it's possible she might go there instead, rather than straight there. But one thing I do know is we've never won a handicap chase at the festival, so that's why I usually don't even bother looking at the handicap chase entries. And our only entry in the Kimura Blessing Company, it didn't get it in. He's rated too high, so I can't. So Whiskey Sour might be one. If he goes for a handicap, he might go over in the Supreme either, but he's the type of horse. In England, you seem to need novices to win handicap hurdles now. And he might just hit that bill. He has a lot of handicap experience on the flat, and he seems to be a very good jumper over hurdles. And he should improve for better ground than he's been running on all winter. So if he turns up in a handicap, he might be one to look for.
Okay, thanks very much. We'll have to stop pestering you about handicaps now. It's a bit early for that. Make sure you tune in to Friday's Weekend Tipping Postcast and rate and subscribe to us on iTunes. And we'll see you then. Thanks very much for joining us.
Paddy Power are gearing up for Cheltenham and offering non-runner money back on all races at the Cheltenham 2018 Festival. Paddy Power, you beauty! Applies from midday on January the 9th. T's and C's apply. 18+, begambleaware.org.